So as you mentioned, Patrick, you were a 10-year vet in the NFL. So let's get it started with base one, man. Where did it all start for you? How did you get involved with football as a kid?
So I grew up down in Orlando, Florida, and I come from a pretty athletic family. Both my granddads played college sports. My mom's dad played college football, and my dad's dad played college basketball. My uncle, Chris DiMarco, played on the PGA Tour for a long time. I have a cousin who played professional baseball in the Orioles organization. My little cousin now is following his dad's footsteps, playing on the Latin American tour, golf. So, sports have always been a part of our family. Every cookout, barbecue we did, it always turned into some sort of competition. I started out playing soccer and then t-ball and then basketball, and then football was the final sport. I started playing in the third grade, and I just loved it. I mean, I played fullback, so obviously I like putting my face on people and inflicting pain. So first chance I had to beat somebody up and not get in trouble for it playing football, I was like, sign me up. So that's kind of how football took off. And I grew up down there in Orlando, and I played my high school football at Lake Brantley High School in Altamont Springs, where I was a 3-year varsity guy. My senior year, we played in the state championship game, first time ever in school history. So just some really cool experiences down there in Orlando, Florida, growing up. And then eventually it led me here to South Carolina.
Heck yeah, man. So what attracted you to the Gamecocks, man?
So both my parents went to the University of Florida. So my mom's parents lived in Gainesville. So as a kid, I went to 3 to 5 Florida Gator games a year. I grew up in the swamp in the fall, essentially. So obviously followed Coach Spurrier a lot. My uncle was an All-American golfer at Florida, so we had a relationship there. And I was under-recruited. I was a 2-star prospect coming out of high school. Really didn't start getting recruited till my senior year of high school, so I was very kind of under the radar. I went to a bunch of camps and showcases, and South Carolina started showing some interest. And I wanted to play big-time ball and to play under a guy that, I had watched growing up my entire life in the swamp now that he's coaching at South Carolina. It was just kind of a dream come true, and especially with his offensive mind. Growing up, I knew he used the fullback. I knew he used multiple tight ends, so I knew I had a chance to get on the field and really have an impact. So that was my ticket here was through Coach Spurrier, and just an opportunity to come here. And he did a really good job recruiting. Like his recruiting pitch, really hit my heartstrings. It was like, hey, do you want to come here and do something that's never been done here at the University of South Carolina? They've never won an SEC East. They've never been in contention for this. They're not always a bowl game team. Do you want to come here and set the standard for what South Carolina football will be like? That was kind of all I needed, like a chance to go in the SEC and do something that's never been done. Heck yeah, I'm in. So I came here my senior year. We actually won the SEC East in 2010. Played against Auburn in the SEC championship game when they had Cam Newton. They ended up winning the national championship game, so we lost a heartbreaker there. But really set the foundation here at South Carolina for what Gamecock football is, and really put us on the national stage.
Definitely, man. What was their developmental regimen at South Carolina?
Yeah, so Coach Spurrier had he'd been coaching for so long. He coached at the college level, he coached at the NFL level, and he coached at the highest level at both levels. So he knew what it took to really develop his talent. He came in and took over Lou Holtz's roster. So there was a lot of turnover and prospects and the recruits that we had. My year my senior year was my freshman year of college was 2007. So I was the 2007 recruiting class. And I probably hurt the recruiting rankings because I was a 2-star, but we were like the number 6 class in the country. So, he brought some dudes in that class that I was in and then classes that followed. But he did a good job from a weight room standpoint with Coach Mark Smith was our weight room strength and conditioning guy my first 2 years, and then Craig Fitzgerald was my last 2 years. But I really enjoyed something that Coach Spurrier did. Mondays at practice, he always did so we had games on Saturday. Sunday we had completely off, and Monday we were back, film review, weight room, and then we did like a mini practice that night to kind of get the soreness out, start introing the next team install wise. But we always did this thing called Monday Night Football, and it was for the guys that didn't play necessarily on Sunday or on Saturday, sorry. But they did like a developmental game, which I thought was so cool. So I was able to play in that my freshman year a little bit. And then I ended up playing a little bit more on offense. So I stopped playing on that towards the tail end of my freshman year. But it was such a cool opportunity for the young guys. The older guys would condition while the young guys started Monday Night Football. And then as conditioning finished, we'd come over there and watch them play. So it was just a really cool atmosphere. I mean, juices flowing, got guys knocking heads. It was a really cool dynamic that he brought to South Carolina football that wasn't here prior to him.
Definitely, man. So with South Carolina, how did that help your transition to the NFL level?
Yeah, so I kind of got lucky in a sense. I played fullback my first 2 years solely. Obviously, I played on special teams and carved a role for myself there. But my junior and senior year, I knew that just playing fullback, it was going to be hard for me just to make it in the NFL, just being strictly a fullback. If I wasn't getting carries or catches. So I kind of expanded my role and played a little bit more tight end my junior and senior year. My senior year, we had somebody get in trouble. So I actually stepped up and I started it at tight end and fullback my senior year. So when we were in different sets, I was at different positions. So I think that was the biggest asset to me going to the next level, was having tape in the SEC, 2010 when we went to the SEC championship game. So playing at an extremely high level, multiple positions, very dynamic. And then also my special teams value. I was a 2-year captain here at South Carolina. Had a lot of leadership roles here. So I think all that stuff kind of tied in and, really helped me with my transition to the NFL.
Definitely, man. So going undrafted to being a Pro Bowl selection, how rewarding was that process to you?
It was a long process. Shoot, I was with 3 teams my first 3 years. So I was a journeyman early on. I was started out with San Diego. I broke my foot 3rd day at training camp, was on IR. And then the next year I was in Kansas City. I was cut after training camp, kept on practice squad for 10 or 11 weeks. Then I got activated. We went 2-14 that year. I got cut after that season. I went to Atlanta. I was running with the ones all training camp. They ended up releasing me, put me on practice squad for 2 weeks, and then activated me after that. So it was a journey, but all those times being cut and told I wasn't good enough, those were scars that put chips on my shoulder essentially, that drove me to really prove people wrong. So, undrafted, drafted, like, where's your opportunity? Your opportunity's already here, right? You got your chance to wear the uniform, to put the helmet on again. So I wasn't going to let that pass me by. So I was going to sell out any which way possible, whether I had to play defense, offensive line. I was going to play in the NFL. I had that set in my mind. Definitely, man. So life after football for you, Patrick, how have you applied the trials and tribulations of the game to your personal life? Yeah. So, we have 4 kids now, me and my wife. We have a 6-year-old, 3-year-old, a 13-month-old, and a 3-week-old. So I'm allowed to be dad now, because when I was in the NFL, time constraints are pretty brutal in season and also in the off season. We lived in Atlanta while I played in Buffalo. We kind of traveled back and forth, so there was a lot of time away from the kids. So now I'm really just trying to soak up all the time and trying to be the best husband and dad possible. And I'm also coaching here at South Carolina too. So obviously in season there are time constraints too, but I'm just, I learned a lot from playing, not just about the game of football, but about life. All the relationships I made in locker rooms, with teammates. When I was playing, the biggest thing when I retired, when I had to look at myself in the mirror, I had to basically deem, was I a really good teammate? I know I was a good player. I knew I played at a high level. Was I a good teammate? Was everybody I played with, would they be willing to, stand on the table for me and say, Pat was a dang good teammate. Pat was an awesome person. Pat was a great leader. That was the stuff that wore on me. So, I take that and I transition to the coaching side of it too, mentoring these players, helping the coaching staff, just from the player element, because a lot of coaches aren't super tied into what hits the player's mind. It's what hits their mind. So I'm just trying to funnel everything back to the players, because if your players understand it and your players can play fast and not think too much, they're going to play at a high level. So those are just different things that I bring to this side of the game.
Definitely, man. So my next 3 questions are brought to you by B&D Sports Media, and they're about your former teams, man. One of your favorite, probably one of your favorite teammates, and Julio. Where does he end up this offseason? And which team makes sense?
I mean, Julio was a guy – Julio was an incredible teammate. He was very soft-spoken. He wasn't loud. He wasn't he didn't like to be the center of attention. But when Julio spoke, everybody listened. Like, everybody listened, because he had that much influence on people, just because he wasn't one of those guys that, like, if he was talking, he meant something. He wasn't just a loud, obnoxious guy. So he was the type of guy, he touched the ball and you had to hold your breath. Was he going to score a touchdown? Every time he touched the ball, I was like, oh, shoot, he's going to take it all the way. But where he ends up, I see him fitting in one of those wide zone schemes that he played under Kyle Shanahan. So I don't know whether it be he could go to Denver doesn't make sense. I haven't really thought about this too much. I could see him going to the Jets under Mike LaFleur. They could use a big-time receiver there.
You think he goes back to the Titans?
I don't think so. No. I think that ship has sailed. I think just with them not signing him back right away, I don't think he would feel compelled to go back there, just because if they really wanted him, they would already signed him. I could see him maybe going to Green Bay. Playing under.
That's probably a good option. But with the Titans, they got rid of that. They traded away A.J. Brown.
But then they drafted the dude from Arkansas.
Burks.
Right away. So, and I think I don't see it. Obviously, when they traded for him in season, or when they signed him in season, you thought it would be more long term. He's still got some gas in the tank for sure. So I'm excited to see where he ends up. I'm sure he's going to be making plays wherever he does. Hopefully it's in a system like he was at in Atlanta, where he thrives so well.
Definitely. The Colts with Matt Ryan.
That would be nice too. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Actually, I did see something about that a couple weeks ago. There's some rumors about him going there. That would be a really good reunion right there.
Heck yeah, man. So this one's about your Chiefs that you played for. How can the Chiefs replace another wide receiver in Tyreek Hill?
Ooh, that's going to be hard to do. They got a bunch of draft capital for him, so but that guy just brings a dynamic to the game that he's a once in a decade type player, where he's that fast, that physical, that great of ball skills. I remember when I was in sorry, I lost you there for a second. When I was in Atlanta, he was in Kansas City, and we had a punt to him, and we're like, oh, wow, big. We'd be in a plus 50 situation where we're kicking sky kicks, where most returners are fair catching it inside the 10, letting it hit the ground inside the 5. That's kind of the general rule in the NFL. This joker's catching it on the 2-yard line. He's catching it in the end zone. He's trying to bring it out. When it's an automatic touchback, just because he knows his talent and his speed. He's one of those guys where you got to hold your breath too. It's going to have to be a by committee thing to replace a guy like that. But they have athletes in other places. They have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They have Travis Kelce. They have a bunch of other really good receivers. So they're not going to be able to replace Tyreek Hill, but they'll have to supplement it by kind of spreading the ball out to some of their other talent.
Definitely. Well, this one's about the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. I'm sure you've seen the TV deal.
I have not watched the TV show. I have not.
He got a TV deal with that.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Announcing games. 340-something mil.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
He's going to make more money doing broadcasting than he did playing, which is awesome to him. But it's, how much longer is he going to play? Like, you know, he hasn't put a timeline on whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. He's saying whenever I'm playing bad, I'll retire, and then I'll start doing the analyst stuff. So, I mean, awesome for him. I mean, obviously you knew it was going to happen with just his image and everything he's been about, and the influence he's had on the game. I mean, he's the greatest to ever play the quarterback position. So why would Fox not jump in and take advantage of that and tie him to a contract that, I mean, Tom Brady speaks, people listen. So when he's broadcasting, I'm sure everyone's going to be tuned in, and they're going to learn a lot about the game. I love watching games that Tony Romo broadcasts now, because Tony brings a completely different element to the game to fans that they've never seen before. He's going through reads. He's going through stunts up front. He's going through safety rotation, where a lot of fans are like, huh, what? They just ran the ball. What are you talking about? So Tom Brady's going to do a great job of teaching the game to people, and I think that's why Fox invested so much money in him to do that. And I'm excited to watch games when he broadcasts too. I'll be tuned in.
Definitely. With your experiences with Tom, playing against him, what stands out? Seeing him from the other side of the field as a visitor or a opponent.
I would say the one thing that jumps out is I never freaking beat him. I think I was 0-6 against him, and the big one was obviously in the Super Bowl in 2016. But he has a confidence. He has an aura about him that he knows that he's never out of the fight. He knows he always has a chance. And I think that goes into that Super Bowl game. I think that when we were up by 25 points, I think that he was calm, cool, and collective on the sideline. He wasn't stressing. He was just like, hey, guys, one play at a time. Let's go. Let's a first down here. Let's not try to get it all back right now. He's just played so much ball, and he's had so many experiences in life, and he's had so many great teammates there in New England for as long as he was there. So, he's the GOAT. Like, what can I say? And he took a Super Bowl from me, so I'm a little pissed off about that too sometimes.
I hear you, man. So Patrick, we'll end on this one. Where can my audience find you on social media?
So I'm on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn. And I'm pretty sure my handle is Pat DiMarco 42. I believe. I'm not sure. I'm not too involved. I check it occasionally on there, but if y'all want to go ahead and give me a follow, and I appreciate you having me on the show. And this was a great interview, and I appreciate you taking the time.